This is Al, and I wanted to talk about current morning philosophy. That is the view across the street. Out here in Santa Cruz.
Can I connect from the depths of my mind to my...
And I wanted to talk about how I want to talk about the inner child, and that in all of us, the part of us that was when we were children, it was who we were, and it's pretty wild. For some, it's different for everybody, and in astrology, we have our sun sign, our conscious self, and then we have our moon child or moon sign, and also known as the inner child. I think this is what I'm coming to understand. I'm not really too familiar with astrology, but I was postulating the theory that the reason why we feel as we get older and older as adults, or just go through life, is when we're kids, we're just like wild, or at least I was kind of wild, like getting angry and throwing temper tantrums, but I was also really loving and fun and free, and also, I would get sad, and I just like every kid. And then we come to these places in life when we're told, it's essentially that we're wrong or something, or that we're not, how we feel is not right. We lose that connection with the intuitive self of the child-like, playful nature of our hearts, and believe that the other person is right, when in reality the other person is just an older person than us. It's usually an older person who makes us feel that way, but what it is an older person who has been told that they were wrong as kids, and they grow up feeling like they need to help other people by telling them that they're wrong too, in order to straighten them out, or whatever they think that they're doing is, they base it on rules in their minds rather than what they know in their hearts, which is that they're actually want to be free kids, and somehow we need to be responsible and feel guilty about being happy, and all this bullshit. It's not true. It's not true. It's a way of putting people down. That's what it is. And that we don't appreciate children as they are, as beautiful lotus flowers blooming into fully functional, beautiful adults, full of self-confidence and joy and light, and that they should be what we want them to be, or what teachers want them to be, or what people think is right for someone else, and to put them down for being how they are naturally is a way of controlling and manipulating their little fragile minds, and forming a way of making them feel disconnected from themselves and disconnected from the whole world, because they don't feel free to be themselves anymore, and they're not even sure of themselves, so there's no foundation that they can go on, because they get enculturated in a culture that tells them that they're not able to trust themselves. And I know because I feel this inside of me still operating, and I think we all have it in certain regards, and I think it's an aspect of growing up, of realizing that there is no higher authority than us. We're all equal people, and all we have is those who inspired us and guided us in directions of our own inner truth and light. And we have those who told us that we were wrong, and or just weren't fully accepting of who we were. And similarly, maybe I don't accept some people who they fully are, and it becomes their responsibility to not listen to me. And similarly with me, it's my responsibility to tell the people, well, not even tell them, just don't pay attention to them, don't focus on the people and ideas that are, not helping me. They can get fucked. And the worst is in my mind. All the voices are, it's like this ball of inner critic that's just insatiably wanting attention. And it's fear. And I think that children are not naturally fearful. They're naturally loving and open. And I think if we want to become whole adults, I think that there's a possibility of tapping into our own inner child, seeing the inner critic as kind of like adult world inside of us that's culture. That Terence McKenna says culture degrades. It's essentially a culture as a mechanism for humans to interact in an efficient way to obtain the things necessary to live. And within the culture, there's interactions of humans, and some of those interactions are positive and some of them are degrading. And culture as a whole are these formulated ideas of how things are, like Christian guilt and all, like fucking European Western colonialism, all these isms and schisms and all that stuff, and basically the standard accepted modus operandi of our society that is available to us from ages 5 to 18 in our public schooling system. Basically, all the assumptions and everything that's ignored embodies what is the culture, because the culture is basically what's focused on, but it's also everything that else that is ignored, which is vast. Because if you introduce people to the universe at age 5, and maybe they will be free, and introduce them to their own free will inside, and maybe to their own inner gifts and their destinies and their natural talents, then there's a potential that those people might not stick around to be told what to do for the rest of their lives. But if you tell them that they're wrong from a young age, and do that until 18, and tell them that there's a right way of seeing things known as science and known as capitalism and money and democracy and all these isms and schisms and stuff, then it creates a culture. It creates people who all believe the same thing, which is, it's, I guess, it's part of growing up and socialization, especially when we're young. it's important even for homeschool children to have socialization. But as we grow older, these outdated, basically the schooling system, which was imported from Prussia uh, and ramped up to serve the needs of the growing industrial economy after World War II, is creating people prepared for a work, not not prepared to be people. They're prepared to be workers in factories, which is absurd. That's not living a life. That's if you're just working all the time in a factory. It's not what we need right now. I mean, we have plenty of material wealth. What we need is some vision and people with some inner spark and connection to their own inner truth, as well as solutions to impending problems resulting from yeah yeah it's good. The motorcycle took me off my rant. Perfect. Anyway, the idea is to embrace your inner child and let it grow into its fully developed adult with the supervision of your own adult. In so doing, become a whole person rather than someone who forgot your inner spark, the inner spark within. Because if we push that away, it will always show up as the angry child who got left in the corner. Didn't get what he actually wanted. So maybe he'll pick on people, bully them, tell them that they're wrong. And that's what a lot of our teachers are in our education system. There's some good ones. There's good teachers too. I think the best teachers are the ones who recognize this and come from the place of love. And yes. And yeah, getting to the place where there is no inner child or there is no adult, but there's just us. And we feel like ourselves and we feel happy and full. And I think inner child is just kind of this concept to spark the energy back. So take what you want, leave the rest behind. It's a quote by Bruce Lee. Peace out. Have a good Wednesday. Peace.